All right, everybody, we're here to talk about hood louvers. Of course, this is our budget build YJ that we're calling Foreshock, and I've decided that I'm going to put a hood louver on here to minimize the glare off the windshield. The lighter colors like this really reflect the light, and I can put one of our whole hood louvers in black on here that's really going to reduce the amount of heat. All right, to do this, I'm going to talk about the tools you need. So you're going to need a tape measure, blue tape, a Sharpie. You're going to need a 10mm wrench because we've got to remove those hood catches, an 1/8" drill, a drill motor, and ultimately a rivet gun. So the hood louver comes with pop rivets. So after you cut the holes in the hood, you're going to need to pop rivet it down. And you don't have to, if you're just going for the look, you do not have to cut the hood. In our case, we are going to cut the hood. That's going to require a slightly bigger drill bit and either a jigsaw or a body saw with a metal cutting blade. And that'll make really quick work of this. We're just literally going to open the passages underneath these louvers, and that's going to require a slightly bigger drill bit and either a jigsaw or a body saw with a metal cutting blade. And that'll make really quick work of this. We're just literally going to open the passages underneath these louvers, and that'll take care of it. Down the middle, there is a very important hood rib. It's a reinforcement rib underneath the surface of the hood that you do not want to cut. Okay, so what we're going to do is lay down some blue tape, outline this thing, move in, and have our cut pattern. Okay, with a wrench, you're going to go ahead and remove each one of these. They might be rusty. They've probably been on there a long time. In this case, this Jeep is 33 years old. So be prepared to deal with a few things like that. Okay, I'm going to measure this center rib. It's 5 inches wide, and I'm going to make sure nothing gets in the way of that 5 inches. And I also want you to measure from the front to this other direction here, which is 6 inches. So we're going to mark all that off and make sure that nothing gets cut in there. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is put down some blue tape and make sure that we do not harm the paint. All right, so that's going to give us a little bit of padding there. Now, we're going to go back to 6 inches, which happens to be right here in the middle of this. So that's good. So we don't want to do anything past that because there was that reinforcement rib underneath. Then, I'm going to find the center here, which is 11.5. And then we're going to go, we're going to keep that 5 inch. So we can't cut anything in this range. All right, that's really important all the way back. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to mark inside of this 1 inch. So I'm just going to go 1 inch all the way around, right, which happens to blend with that. And this is going to be our cut line. Now, we talked about the 5 inch is the bare minimum, right? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to have a line here as well that when we come across, we're going to make the turn and then come up this way. And that's going to be our maximum that we can cut. Now, if you look at the louver and you measure from the front, you can see that the louvers end at about 24 inches. So we're going to mark 24 inches back from the very front. So that's that front lip. Here's 24 inches, right? So it's clearly a ways back. We're going to put a little piece of tape on here. And I can see my mark through the tape. So this is what I was saying. We're going to do something like that right now. The other stretch of louvers goes a little bit further, and it goes 30 inches back. Okay, depending on how critical you want to be, you can get a straight edge out and do a fancy job at this. The reality is all of this is hidden. The only way you're going to see it is from underneath the hood. Now, after I cut all this, what I'll do is I'll go back with some spray paint on a Q-tip and I'll run it all the way around the edge to make sure that the edge of the sheet metal is sealed up and won't rust anymore. So this is a real easy project. You can make it as complicated or simple as you want. What I'm going to do now is drill a hole in each one of these corners, and then that's where my bit's going to start and run around and zip this right out. All right, using the cardboard that the hood louver came in, I put that over the top of the engine. Using a piece of wood, I just set it down, and then all the cutting I do or drilling, I'm assured that I'm not going to do anything to the top of the engine or the wire harness. All right, we're getting ready to cut with the metal bladed jigsaw our lines that we drew out on the hood. By the way, you can spend a lot of time on this with a straight edge and, get them perfect if you want. All you're really trying to do is open up this area underneath the hood louver to let air out. So I'm just gonna follow along our lines and cut this area out. I'm going to start here in the back. I drilled a hole just big enough to fit the jigsaw, and I'm just going to cut from hole to hole. All right, what you can do now is you can go back with a file, a flap wheel, anything you want to smooth out the edges, just so that you have a nice surface underneath your hood louver. All I'm really trying to do here is get the sharp edges off. You can go through here and be a perfectionist with a drum sander or a flap wheel. But it's totally up to you on how much time you want to spend on it. I really just want to make sure there's no sharp edges. It doesn't take much, and then I'm going to spray some white paint on a Q-tip and run around the edge and just seal off the open, fresh metal. We're actually going to use some of these holes to bolt this back down. All right, to better get the hood louver to fit and stay flat on the hood, we loosen both side hinges to allow this to slide up in here and stay real flat. Then we took 2 bolts with a fender washer and we put them through to hold this whole thing in place so that as we drill the holes, this won't shift. Now the other thing I'm going to do to assure that it doesn't shift is I'm going to drill 2 holes, I'm going to put the first 2 rivets in and then work my way around so this thing stays flat and true on the hood. All right, so now you'll want to go ahead and reinstall these windshield supports and your center tie-down point, and your installation of your whole hood louver is complete.